Welcome back. If you've ever just felt completely overwhelmed by the sheer noise of modern life, then you know how tough it can be to find any kind of clarity. Well, today we're going to explore a really powerful mental model that's designed to help with exactly that. It's called the big mind hypothesis. So let's get right into it.
It's a feeling we all know, right? It's just constant. The notifications buzzing, the pressures from work and life, just the fire hose of information coming at us all day long. It's a lot. It can be completely overwhelming.
So what do we do about it? What if the solution isn't actually about trying to silence the world around us? That feels impossible. What if it's more about upgrading the operating system, inside our own heads? A lot of the time, the real problem isn't the noise itself. It's that we don't have a good framework to process it all.
And that is exactly what we're going to focus on in this explainer. We're looking for a way to just zoom out, to see that bigger picture. And when you do that, you can start to get back a sense of control, a sense of calm, even when you're right in the middle of all the chaos.
So here's our game plan. We'll talk about why we need a wider frame in the first place, then get into the big mind hypothesis. We'll cover how to use it as a framework, not a superstition, and look at 3 practical examples. Then I'll give you a quick perspective reset you can try out, and we'll wrap up with a recap and look at what's next.
All right, section 1, a wider frame. Let's talk about why we even need a new mental model. So yeah, that starting point is that feeling of being totally overwhelmed. When you're stuck down in the weeds, with all the daily problems, you just completely lose perspective. What we need is a wider frame, a new mental model that kind of acts like a drone shot for your mind, something to help you rise above it all.
Okay, so now for the core concept of this whole thing, the big mind hypothesis and understanding the all. Now, to find this wider frame we're talking about, we're going to turn to an idea from this really fascinating century-old text called the Kybalion. In it, there's this philosophical concept called the all, and we're kind of reframing it for today as the big mind hypothesis.
So what is the all? Well, according to the Kybalion, it's the substantial reality that underlies the whole universe. The simplest way to think about it is as a universal, infinite, living mind. The key here, and this is really important, is not to think of it as like a person or some kind of deity. It's more like an infinite living consciousness, just one single vast mind that everything exists within.
And this leads to the central idea, the first big principle. The all is mind. The universe is mental. So what that's suggesting is that reality itself, at its very core, is a mental phenomenon. It's saying that everything we perceive, our thoughts, our feelings, even the stars in the sky, all of it exists inside this one universal consciousness.
The book uses a really great analogy to make this click. Just picture an author who's writing a story, right? The characters, the world they live in, the whole plot, it all exists completely inside that author's mind. The big mind hypothesis is basically saying that our universe is like that story. It's a massive mental creation being held in the mind of the all.
Okay, and this is where it gets really wild. So if that's true, then we are like characters inside this huge universal story. But, and this is the twist, because the all is also within us, within everything, we're not just mindless puppets. We actually have a direct connection to the mind that's dreaming up the whole story. So you're simultaneously the character living it all and a tiny piece of the author who can help shape what happens next. That's where our power, our agency, comes from.
Okay, I know. This is a huge idea, so it is absolutely crucial that we approach it in a really practical, down-to-earth way. This next section is all about using this as a framework, not a superstition. This isn't about belief or dogma at all. It's about using a cool concept as a mental tool.
Let me be super clear here. The goal is not to convince you that this is some kind of literal, absolute truth. Not at all. The point is to offer you a mental framework that you can actually use. Think of it like a new app for your brain, one that helps you reframe situations and see things differently.
And one of the most important parts of using this framework responsibly is avoiding what the texts call the ego trap. That's when someone hears this and says, oh, I get it. I am God. I am the all. That way leads to a lot of arrogance and mistakes. The real shift, the humility upgrade, is realizing I am in the all. You see the difference? It's just one tiny word, but that shift changes everything. You go from claiming to be the whole story to understanding you're a part of the story.
Yeah, so this whole perspective, it's not about making you feel all-powerful and puffed up. It's actually the opposite. It's about making you feel deeply connected to a process that is so much bigger than you are. It's a tool for humility, and that humility is what leads to wisdom, because it helps us see our true role inside this huge interconnected system.
All right, so let's get practical. How does this actually work in day-to-day life? Let's take this big, abstract idea and bring it right down to earth with 3 real-world examples.
Okay, so first at work. Imagine you have a big professional setback. Instead of spiraling and thinking, I'm a total failure, you can use this framework to zoom out and see it as just one plot point, one chapter, in your much larger career story. Or how about in relationships? You're in a conflict. Instead of getting stuck in the who said what, you can pull back and see the argument as just a dynamic playing out within the whole system of your relationship. And with habits, we all struggle with those, right? Well, instead of beating yourself up, you can see that struggle as just one small part of the much longer process of your own character development.
You see the pattern here? The key takeaway is that changing your view literally changes your reality. The framework doesn't magically alter what happened, but it completely changes your experience of what happened. And since our experience is, for all intents and purposes, our reality, well, you suddenly have the power to transform a negative situation into something way more constructive.
Okay, let's make this even more practical. I want to give you something you can use today, right now. It's a super simple mini practice I call the perspective reset. You can try it the very next time you feel that wave of frustration or stress hitting you. It's just 3 simple steps. First, pause. The moment you feel that strong emotional reaction, just stop. Don't do anything. Create that tiny bit of space between the trigger and your response. Step 2, zoom out. Seriously, imagine yourself from above. Then zoom out further. See your city, your country, the planet. See your problem for what it is, one tiny little event in this vast mental universe. And then, step 3, re-engage. From that new, calmer, wider perspective, choose how you want to respond. A response that actually aligns with your values.
That is it. So simple, right? But it's incredibly powerful. Pause, zoom out, re-engage. It's like you're consciously tapping into that author's mind that we were talking about earlier, even for just a second.
All right, let's do a quick recap of everything we've covered and talk about where we go from here.
So, we started with a problem that we all feel. Modern life can be overwhelming. The solution we explored was a framework, the Big Mind hypothesis, which helps us see the universe as a mental creation. And this isn't just theory, it gives us a practice. You can literally zoom out to get clarity and choose how you want to respond to things.
When you boil it all down, it comes back to this one powerful idea. Your mind is your primary interface with reality. The quality of your mind literally determines the quality of your life. It's the lens you see everything through, and a framework like this is all about learning how to consciously adjust that lens.
So I want to leave you with a question to think about. What's the one area of your life where you could really use a wider perspective? Maybe even today. Now, believe it or not, this idea of a mental universe, it's just the starting point. It's the very first of the 7 Hermetic principles. In our next explainer, we're going to dig into the second one, the principle of correspondence. You can find that one and all the others in the full playlist for this series. Thanks so much for being here.